Hey, what's up guys, I'm Tom Holland.
I'm Zendaya.
Jacob Watson.
And you are watching us on WatchMojo.com.
Hey. Woo!
The MCU is a big universe, so it pays to do your homework before heading to the theater. Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the things to remember before seeing Spider-Man Far From Home. For this list, we're looking at some of the most important factors and background info to keep in mind heading into this 2019 Spidey film. Please note, we will be discussing the plot of Avengers Endgame, so a major spoiler warning is now in effect.
If you haven't seen Avengers Endgame yet, stop watching because there's some serious spoilers about to come up.
Number 10. It's the final Phase 3 film.
Don't feel bad about this. Part of the journey is the end.
Avengers Endgame felt like a conclusion. The film brought to a close a story long in the making, and served as a send-off for a number of original Avengers. Be that as it may, Marvel's Phase 3 technically doesn't end there, but rather with Spider-Man Far From Home, much like Phase 2 ended not with Age of Ultron, but with Ant-Man.
And? What'd he say?
He said yes.
For fans who are still feeling emotional about Endgame, a European vacation with Peter and his pals seems like the perfect follow-up, reminding us that even with Iron Man and Black Widow gone and Cap out of the picture, life goes on, and the world still needs heroes.
You gonna be the next Iron Man now?
Well, no, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing your jobs.
Number 9. The creative team is back.
All right, I've run out of patience. On to Ruse!
Fans went wild when Spider-Man joined the MCU in time for Captain America: Civil War. But the news of Spidey being rebooted yet again so soon after The Amazing Spider-Man had many people expressing concern that the character wasn't being given enough downtime. Thankfully, when Spider-Man Homecoming landed in theaters in 2017, all those fears were quickly alleviated.
Finally.
Filmmaker Jon Watts delivered a movie that was equal parts superhero flick and high school comedy, the influence of John Hughes being especially apparent.
Great movie!
Given the success of the film, it was music to the ears of fans that not only would Jon Watts be returning, but also two of the screenwriters from Homecoming, Chris McKenna and Eric Summers.
There's a part of me that wants me to tell you, just turn around, run away from all this, and then there's another part of me that knows that we're about to fight. What's at stake? And I'm glad you're here.
Number 8. The title's double meaning.
I guess you already have a date to Homecoming.
Actually, I'm so busy planning and I never really got around to that part, so.
Out of context, the title Spider-Man Homecoming might seem like a bit of an odd choice. But since the character was finally joining the MCU, it felt very appropriate in the sense that Spidey was coming home to join his peers. Of course, the plot of the film also very much centered around the homecoming dance at Midtown High. For the sequel, Far From Home, Watts and company are continuing with this thematic titling strategy. In the literal sense, the film will see Parker and his friends traveling abroad.
Pack your suit. I just want to go on my trip with my friends. Europe doesn't really need a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
But there's also a more symbolic meaning to the title as well. But we don't want to spoil anything, so you'll just have to wait and see for yourselves in theaters. Number 7. The Elementals.
What is that? I don't know.
So, with the Vulture seemingly locked up and Thanos well and truly having been defeated in Endgame, which villain does Spidey get to tangle with next? Well, Far From Home actually has a number of familiar faces show up. But as far as the trailers would have you believe, Peter is being tasked with stopping the Elementals. If the name doesn't ring a bell, don't worry, you're not alone. These element-themed characters are a rather obscure group that debuted in 1974's Supernatural Thrillers No. 8. And like their comic book counterparts, these powerful beings are introduced as extra-dimensional beings in Far From Home.
They were born in stable orbits within black holes, creatures formed from the primary elements: air, water, fire, earth. The science division had a technical name. We just called them elementals.
As they appear in the film, however, their design has clearly incorporated elements of more popular Spidey rogues like Sandman, Hydro Man, and Molten Man. Number 6. Aunt May Knows. It's been a couple of years since Tom Holland's Spider-Man made his solo debut in 2017, and a whole lot has happened since then. The kid went into outer space and was also a victim of the snap. so you'd be forgiven for forgetting some of the finer points of Homecoming. In the film, not only does Peter's best friend Ned discover his secret identity, but at the end of the film, in a scene that surprised many fans, so did his Aunt May.
What the f?
This happened right before the credits roll, so we never got to see that conversation play out. But based on the trailers from Far From Home, she seems supportive and actively involved in Peter's crime-fighting career, as is Happy Hogan.
You look nice.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. New dress?
Yes, it is. How'd you know?
What just happened?
Number 5. It will heavily focus on a world without Iron Man.
Everywhere I go, I see his face. I just really miss him.
Yeah, I miss him too.
Nothing will ever be the same after the events of Infinity War and Endgame, not for fans of the MCU or the characters who inhabit it. Tony Stark bravely gave his life to save not only Earth, but the entire universe from Thanos. As one of the world's greatest heroes, he is sorely missed. And for Peter, to whom Tony was a mentor and a surrogate father figure, that grief is particularly hard to live with. Everywhere he looks, there are reminders of Iron Man, not to mention the pressure to help fill the heroic void that Stark left behind. Based on the trailers, the fallout of Iron Man's death will very much color the film's themes and overall character motivations.
I don't think Tony would have done what he did if he didn't know that you were going to be here after he was gone.
Number 4. It's a transitional film and the last MCU film for a while. As previously mentioned, Spider-Man Far From Home is the last film of Phase 3. But it's more than just an epilogue. If Endgame bookends the first 3 phases of the MCU, Spider-Man Far From Home is perhaps best described as a bridge between that volume of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and its future. Considering Marvel has been rather tight-lipped about their slate of films moving forward, we've also been led to believe that Far From Home may serve to help set up the direction of the MCU moving forward. Notably, it's also the last Marvel film slated for release for quite some time, with the next confirmed release date being May 1st, 2020. Marking the longest gap between MCU films in years.
So nice to finally meet you, Spider-Man.
Number 3. Peter and some of his classmates were recently unsnapped.
He's no Spider-Man.
What is it with you and Spider-Man?
What, he looks out for the neighborhood, has a dope suit, and I really respect him. Sup, dickwad?
As we learned in Avengers Endgame, at least as far as the MCU is concerned, there's no changing the past. And for those who disappeared when Thanos snapped his fingers at the end of Infinity War, that means there's no getting that time back. For adults, this is confusing and painful, but not insurmountable. For a teenager, however, a 5-year difference fundamentally changes relationships. Thankfully, it seems as if all of Peter's closest high school friends also got snapped, which means they aren't suddenly 5 years older than him.
I work with Spider-Man.
You work for Spider-Man?
I work with Spider-Man, not for Spider-Man. New plan!
Be that as it may, they all still have a fair amount of baggage from the experience, and new relationships to form with their technically younger classmates. Number 2. Enter Mysterio.
You don't want any part of this.
This master of illusion is one of Spider-Man's oldest rogues, having debuted all the way back in the early 1960s. At least in the comics, Mysterio doesn't have any powers. Instead, he uses technology and his mastery over the art of illusion. Fans have long fantasized about seeing him on the big screen, but given his costume design, there were concerns that he didn't work in a live-action capacity. But the creative team behind Far From Home certainly proved the naysayers wrong.
When Fury asked me to come up here and see how you were doing, he felt bad about snapping at you.
Really?
You guys do have sarcasm on this earth, right?
Played by Jake Gyllenhaal, Mysterio looks perfect. In a bit of a curveball, the character is introduced as a hero in the MCU. But as fans of the character will tell you, when Mysterio is involved, things are rarely as they appear. Not quite at the end yet. Almost there though. Just be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Alright, back to business. Number 1. It might introduce the multiverse.
We could have used someone like you on my world.
Your world? Beck is from Earth, just not ours.
Okay, this could be huge. In the comics, the reality inhabited by our heroes, Earth 616 to be precise, is just one of many parallel universes. This is something that's been touched on in the MCU, both with the introduction of the quantum realm and the alternate timelines visited during the events of Endgame. But in the trailer for Far From Home, they finally got explicit in talking about the multiverse, with Quentin Beck allegedly coming from one such alternate reality.
You're saying there's a multiverse?
We have a job to do, and you're coming with us.
But like we said, with Mysterio involved, it's best to question everything. Sadly, there also doesn't appear to be any connection to the Spider-Verse either. But hey, anything is possible.
How many more Spider people are there?
Save it for Comic-Con.
What's Comic-Con?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.